Hello, everyone. Dr. Victoria Scarbo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. So I have finally finished the Astrology of December, and we're going to share it. Now, today is December 7th. It's a Tuesday, but I'm going to start from the beginning of December because there are some things that I think are worth repeating. Most of this stuff has been talked about in my dailies anyway, but I'd like to share what I have created here. So let me just so what I've done is I've sort of separated out the weeks with sort of like mini themes that I think are apt for each week in December. So a couple of days ago, I did the Kabbalah and Numerology of December. You can check that out if you like. And today we're going to start the astrology, and we're going to talk about week one. And week one will run from December 1st to December 4th. On Wednesday, December 1st, we had a planet, Neptune, station direct, and that occurred at 21 degrees of Pisces. Neptune was retrograde since, I believe it was June. And now it is starting to move forward. The Sabian symbol for 21 degrees of Pisces is under the watchful eye of a kind Chinese servant, a girl fondles a little white lamb. And it says here, the growth in consciousness in its earliest tactile awareness of the wonders of unsophisticated living. And so there is this intimation of our ability to grow in consciousness. And here we have the chart, and where is Neptune? Here's Neptune right here. We see that it is stationing, and Neptune is actually in a trine to Mars in Scorpio. That is, and that trine occurred the day before, I believe. And so there's a flow of energy between Neptune and Mars. And generally, Neptune and Mars as a combination can be a little bit tricky, but the trine is really the most wonderful of aspects between Neptune and Mars, because there's a flow of energy, and it can be a flow of healing energy. And then on Saturday, December 4th, we had that new moon solar eclipse at 13 degrees of Sagittarius. The interesting thing about this is the Sabian symbol for this. It says a widow's past brought to light the karma of past actions as it affects opportunities presented by a new cycle. Keyword retribution. When I read this, the thing that sort of popped in my mind is the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. And that trial began, I think, on the 29th of November. And so it is within the energy of this eclipse. And this eclipse is a south node eclipse. So while it is about new beginnings, because we're dealing with the new moon, it is conjunct the south node of the moon. And the south node of the moon is the area of release. And so there is a story that needs to be told. There is beliefs that need to be evaluated. We also have Mars very close to the south node, and we will have that conjunction a little bit later in the month, and its indications there. But this particular new moon was in conjunct to Uranus. So there is a certain amount of revelation here. There's also a certain amount of instability and perhaps not getting the whole story all at once. I think these things are going to sort of come in dribs and drabs. So let's go to week 2, because that's the week we're in right now. I call week 2 action, understanding, and depth. So week 2 runs from December 5th to December 11th. And on Monday, we had a beautiful sextile between Mars and Pluto. This sextile, this is a 300-degree Aquarius side sextile, meaning that Mars and Pluto, Mars has moved away from Pluto 300 degrees around the 360-degree circle. These two planets started their cycle on May 23rd, 2020, when they were both conjoined at 26 degrees of Capricorn. 26 degrees of Capricorn is going to be a degree that we hear a lot about. Because Pluto moves so slowly, generally there's a group of degrees that gets activated through Pluto and the other planets that interact with Pluto. And that in a way becomes a theme for the time that we're in. So 26 degrees of Capricorn is a nature spirit dancing in the iridescent mist of a waterfall, the ability to perceive the hidden and creative spirit of natural phenomena. Keyword here is occult energy, occult energy. So there is a underlying hidden driving force with this particular theme. And when we look at the sextile, we have Pluto at still at is that 26? It's 27. Hold on, I can't see. I'm sorry. I have to get really close to this. We have Pluto at 27 degrees of Capricorn, and we have Mars at 27 degrees of Capricorn. So right around that 26th degree. This particular sextile has the energy of progressive change. And so it's an opportunity for us to move in a more humanitarian direction. In fact, the world soul, which is Pluto in Capricorn, is asking us, our conscious desires, Mars, to move in that direction of raising all boats, move in the direction of understanding, move in the direction of I am my brother and sister's keeper. That is what this particular aspect sort of moves us to. Now, it is an opportunity to do that. The thing with sextiles is that we're not forced to do things. Squares are a little different. Square, when we have a square, we have to do something. Our hand, so to speak, is forced. But with sextiles, it's an opportunity. And so this is an opportunity to make big changes and, for the common good, if we choose to do it. Today, Tuesday, we have a square between Mercury and Neptune. This is a crisis in belief square. It's a 270-degree square. So the nature of the square itself is to question authority. The nature of Mercury and Neptune, however, Mercury is our lower minds. Neptune is source energy. It's inspirational. It's aspirational. It is the biggest possible picture. We can dream big dreams with Neptune, and we can really fool ourselves with Neptune. So how this particular aspect manifests really depends on a lot around your ability to sort of project a vision, but not get so caught up in that vision that you lose your sense of reality. This crisis in belief can bring up misunderstandings, but it can also be very inspirational. So it says here, this aspect indicates difficulty with an overactive imagination, interfering with rational and logical processes of thought. This can result in self-deception and the construction of a private version of truth and reality. And don't we see that out there in the world? There can be a preference for mental avoidance and for escaping directly confronting aspects of life that you find unpleasant, such as personal truths and social problems. However, you can also utilize this square to create a sense of hope and a sense of greater vision and a sense of a better future. So we can do that. That does require us to be responsible for ourselves. That last quarter square, while it is a square that stimulates our ability to sort of question authority, we can't simply question authority and then act irresponsibly. It has to come hand in hand with an ability to both question authority and then make choices that are responsible for you and the society that you live in. On Wednesday, December 8th, we have Mars making a last quarter square to Jupiter. This is the same type of square that we had with Mercury and Neptune, that last quarter crisis and belief square. So it has that revolutionary quality to it. It has that also has the need to take responsibility. Generally a positive influence in that it creates ample energy and enthusiasm, strength, courage, and also sexual attractiveness. High energy, and the high energy and this aspect, definitely in this aspect, I think it should say, needs some creative or physical outlet. Otherwise, restlessness will build up to aggressive and rash actions. One of the things that can happen when you're dealing with Jupiter always is that you can overextend yourself. So there is a sense of sort of going too far. However, because we're dealing with Mars, you do need some sort of action. And this can be a highly creative action too. So whatever it is that you need to do to sort of move this energy forward, this enthusiasm, this sense of possibility. Now, Mars is in Scorpio, which is Mars is powerfully placed in Scorpio, and Jupiter is in Aquarius, not quite as powerfully placed. And so Mars really, in its sense of which planet has more comfort in where it sits, it actually is Mars. And so we do have to be aware that sometimes Mars and Scorpio can, when it's feeling like it's not getting its point across, can be somewhat manipulative. And actually, sometimes it can be cruel, but that is the lower vibration of Scorpio. The higher vibration of Scorpio is a vibration of healing. And so we can take actions to heal society, because Jupiter is a social planet and deals with the expansion of our understanding. And Jupiter in Aquarius is the expansion of our understanding that we do live in a society and that we do have to take into consideration other people, and that we do need to take actions that benefit all of us. Saturday, December 11th. There are things that are happening in between, but they're all minor. So I'm just going over the major stuff. So here we have a Venus-Pluto conjunction, and this occurs at, again, 26 degrees of Capricorn. And we can see here in this chart over here, 2519, you always round it up, and we have 26 of Capricorn. So again, we're dealing with the nature spirit dancing in an iridescent waterfall. And the idea of occult energy, the ability to perceive the hidden and creative spirit of natural phenomenon. This is actually the first of 3 conjunctions between Pluto and Venus. Venus is what we value, what's important to us, our relationships, our relationship to ourselves. In Capricorn, it is our relationship to power, our relationship to taking responsibility for ourselves. And we're going to have 3 opportunities, because next week, about, 8 days after this conjunction, Venus actually stations retrograde, and we're going to have a Venus retrograde cycle, which I'll talk about shortly. So when I look at when we have a conjunction here, I also like to look at where the ruler of that particular sign, in this case Capricorn, is sitting. And the ruler of Capricorn is Saturn, and we have Saturn at 12 degrees of Aquarius. Now, I'm going to talk about the 12 degrees of Aquarius a little bit later, because we have a second conjunction of Pluto and Venus in December, and I'll get more specific about that 12 degrees of Aquarius, because it does in its way influence And so we are starting a synodic cycle between Pluto and Venus. And generally it starts with a single conjunction, and then, moves around Venus moves away from Pluto and then comes back to Pluto about a year later. But because of the Venus retrograde, we have 3 opportunities for Pluto and Venus to come together. So there's this energy of, getting down to the core issue, but so initially we have this conjunction. A little later in the month, we have another conjunction, and then the last conjunction happens in March. And so we may not really realize what has been, there's a process here. There's a process that's happening. That's what I'm going to say about that. We also have, on December 11th, we have a waning sextile. That's a 300-degree sextile between Mercury and Jupiter. This, of course, these waning sextiles always have that Aquarian energy to them. And it is an opportunity for progressive change. Especially important, this is an especially important point in our awareness, because we're dealing with the 2 ruling planets of the nodes of the moon. The nodes of the moon have been in North Node in Gemini, South Node in Sagittarius for about 17 months. They are going to shift into a new axis with the North Node in Taurus and the South Node in Scorpio in January. So this, in a way, this aspect between Mercury and Jupiter is actually a culmination of this interaction and the journey of the nodes. And the nodes of the moon indicate the direction of our evolution. How are we evolving? What do we need to be aware of? What do we need to move towards? Gemini. What do we need to release? Sagittarius. We need to move to an ability to communicate to one another, to see both sides of an issue, to see the duality that exists, and let go of beliefs that no longer serve us. So it's been a real spiritual crisis. We've been going through this sort of spiritual crisis. And people have been on both ends of the spectrum. There are those people who just go by the facts and sort of forget about the spiritual connections. And then there are those that just go through by the intuitional stuff and forget about the facts. We need to utilize both in order to move forward. And this sextile does give us some information on that. And we have Mercury here at 27 degrees of Sagittarius. We have Jupiter at 27 degrees of Aquarius. The understanding garnered from the nodes movements through the Gemini Sagittarius axis can be expressed. So that's the nature of the sextile. The fact that Mercury is conjunct the galactic center and that Jupiter is conjunct the moon of the Sibley chart for the birth of the United States indicates that we also have connection to higher vibrational energies, and we have connection to our star seed inheritance. So we can connect to our galactic origins with this energy. And so there are many levels that you can work this energy on. It can be a very practical and mundane level. Sagittarius is about truth. Jupiter in Aquarius is about the expansion of the idea of I am my brother and sister's keeper. What is the galactics saying about that? Are they saying that we are all one, or are they saying you're right and you're wrong? I mean, who's saying what here? Okay, so there are many levels that you can work with this energy. Week 3, confusion, shifting energies, and the past rears its head, and ultimately illumination. So Sunday, December 12th, we have the sun making a last quarter square to Neptune. Again, one of those crisis and beliefs last quarter squares. Now, when the Sun and Neptune are in a square to each other, events and other people can cause confusion and disappointment, which may force you to battle against the odds. It is normal under this influence to feel insecure, guilty, or apologetic. The major feeling of these last quarter crisis and belief squares is guilt. So you can feel like you're leaving something behind, you feel bad, shouldn't you be responsible for this and responsible for that? Ultimately, you're really responsible for yourself, right? And that is indicated in this last quarter square with the need to be responsible for yourself. If you are going to say, I am not going to listen to what authority says, you have to have a higher sense of responsibility. Otherwise, you're going to run into trouble, because even if you don't want to listen to what authority says, if you act irresponsibly, you will pay for it, right? And with Neptune, there's always this sort of belief issue. And I was just thinking, I was listening to YouTube, and I don't know the gentleman's name, but there was a very popular and I guess powerful evangelical that was, stating that COVID is a hoax and that, all this other stuff. And he died of COVID. So, he died for his beliefs, I guess. But of course, he was also sharing those beliefs with others. And when you're in a position of authority like that, you have to be very careful about what you say. And what you do. Now, you can have your opinion, but to force other people to agree with you or see your point of view, you can't really do the forcing, right? And of course, we're having a lot of issues with mandates and this, that, and the other thing, where people are feeling like they are forced to make a choice. And we can see that in these crisis in consciousness squares all over the place, really. So it says here, seeing only the best in people increases the chance of becoming disillusioned or worse. Over idealization, gullibility can lead to loss, scandal, or slander. And so you have to really take things with a grain of salt. You have to work these things through your own filters as well. To counter this deceptive influence of this transit, you must be above board in all your dealings. So you need to have integrity with this. And when you're listening to somebody or whatever, you have to ask the question, how are they in integrity? Are they in integrity? And here we have the Sun right here, squaring Neptune right here. Okay, so we see that that last quarter square. Monday, December 13th, Mars, this is a day when we have shifting energies. We have Mars ingressing into Sagittarius. Now, Mars has been in Scorpio. Now, Mars loves being in Scorpio. Mars was the original ruler of Scorpio before Pluto came along, and is considered a co-ruler of Scorpio. And Mars in Scorpio is about digging deep and getting to the muck and moving through the muck, really, really going and facing the shadow and moving through some really difficult stuff. So Mars is very courageous to do that. Now Mars is moving into Sagittarius. And whenever a planet moves from Scorpio to Sagittarius, there is a big shift in energy, because now Sagittarius wants to get perspective. Sagittarius is about freedom and looking at the big picture and garnering meaning from the experiences that we had when Mars was in Scorpio. So this is a very philosophical Mars. And sometimes with Mars in Sag, we get a little bit of a wanderlust. So don't be surprised if you're starting to feel that. The first degree of Sagittarius is retired Army veterans gather to reawaken old memories, the will to reaffirm the value of the struggle upon which civilization and group achievements are founded. So this really is a realization that in order for us to achieve, to move forward, it does take a certain amount of struggle. It does take a certain amount of sacrifice. Jupiter, which is the ruler of Sagittarius, is at 28 degrees of Aquarius. So I like to look at that as well. It says a tree felled and sawed to ensure the supply of wood for the winter. Knowledge and skill used in its natural surroundings for the satisfaction of vital basic needs. So this Mars in Sagittarius does point to a need to be aware of the fact that sometimes, moving forward is a struggle and that we need to learn to utilize what we have. And of course, Venus is in Capricorn now and will be going retrograde, and we will be reviewing what is essential in our lives through that period. We also have Mercury changing signs, going from Sagittarius to Capricorn. Now, Mercury in Sagittarius is considered in its, I don't know if it's fall or detriment, but it's not comfortable in Sagittarius. Mercury likes details. Sagittarius tends to gloss those over. But now it's moving into Capricorn. It's a different energy. And Mercury doesn't dislike being in Capricorn. I don't think Mercury has an opinion about being in Capricorn. It's not the best sign for Mercury. It's not the worst sign. It's just a sign of Mercury. And what Mercury in Capricorn does is it makes us aware of that there are structures and there are certain procedures that you need to go through. There are certain levels. You can't just, you can't really start at the top. There is a process that you need to go through, and it is sort of an evaluation, and a very serious evaluation of the structure of things, right? This Capricorn deals with structure. The first degree of Capricorn says an Indian chief claims power from the assembled tribe, the power and responsibility implied in any claim for leadership. So that first degree of Capricorn, right off the bat, deals with an ability to lead and an ability to be responsible. Saturn, which is the ruler of Capricorn, is at 11 degrees of Aquarius. The Sabian symbol for 11 degrees of Aquarius is during a silent hour, a man receives new inspiration, which may change his life. The need to rely upon inner inspiration and guidance at the start of a new development. So Mercury in Capricorn is asking us to logically and systematically sort of check the structures that are around us, and at the same time be inspired by those things that are beyond the structures, right? Go the still small voice within, our connection to our higher vibrational states. So we are not only moving through a period of time when we have to pay attention to the details, and we have to pay attention to perhaps in certain cases where the money is, how much money do you have, what is the value of things, what value, because we're dealing with Capricorn, it has to do with utilization of energy, but we have to understand where we stand with that. And I think that's what Mercury is going to help us do as it moves through Capricorn. Now, on December 15th, Mars will make a conjunction to the south node of the moon. This occurs at 2 degrees of Sagittarius, and we can see it right here. Here we have the south node at 141 and Mars at 141. And whenever the nodes of the moon are activated by planets, usually means a fateful occurrence. Now, we do have Mars in Sagittarius. Mars in Sagittarius can often be inspired by the past, inspired by our beliefs, but because it's on the south node, it's beliefs around the past. Actually, I think this can be somewhat a dangerous time because people will take action on old beliefs. On the other side of this, we have Ceres conjunct the north node. Now, it's not exact like Mars is, but we have a Mars Ceres opposition. In my exploration around Ceres is a reaping energy. So there's a reaping of information, a reaping of facts, as it were. But when you reap something, you cut it down. So I think this is a time And there are a couple of these. Actually, most of December is a time when we have to be extraordinarily careful. So this is something I think that we need to be aware of. So it says here are 2 degrees of Sagittarius where this conjunction occurs. White-capped waves display the power of wind over sea. It says the mobilization of unconscious energies under the pressure of super-personal motives. So there's this energy of the unconscious that we're dealing with. And when the unconscious is made conscious, sometimes bad things happen in order for us to be conscious of it, right? So wind and sea are in a constant interplay, and the results of that interplay are inspiring and beautiful. The symbolism, the wind, pneuma, in the early Greek word for spirit, is associated with spiritual dynamism. Sorry. The stirring of deep energies, these dynamism produces obeys cosmic or superpersonal rhythms, the power of which is irresistible. Substantiation through rhythmic intensity. Things are going to come up. So that's a lot of words. Things are going to come up. Some of the things, Mars can be angry things. Some of the things, Sagittarius, can be old beliefs. Stimulating that South Node. The South Node is not only what we need to release, but also within it have talents and abilities from previous experience and in many cases, previous lifetimes. So Sagittarius is a wisdom energy. And so sometimes what we can do is we can access the wisdom from the past if we're willing to let go of those beliefs that we have come to realize do not really align with our new understanding of our place in the world or the direction we feel we need to go in the world. Sunday, December 18th, we have the full moon in Gemini. We have the moon at 28 degrees of Gemini. Of course, the sun is opposite that. It's always opposite in a full moon at 28 degrees of Sagittarius. That 28 sun, 28 degrees of Sagittarius is close to the galactic center. 28 degrees of Gemini, which is where the moon is, Sabian symbol, through bankruptcy, society gives an overburdened individual the opportunity to begin again. The release from unbearable pressures, freeing one from new tasks. Wouldn't that be great if they did the student loan, if they could cancel it that day? That'd be great. I don't think it's going to happen, but there is an awareness around perhaps the necessity for that. Liberation from the past. Liberation from the past. Remember that Mars on the South Node, liberation from the past. It is in stark opposition to for the sun at 28 degrees of Sag. Says an old bridge over a beautiful stream is still in constant use. The enduring elements in society which reveal its ability to significantly link the genius of its individuals to the everyday needs of the collectivity. Beautiful necessity. This is about letting go of the past, but it's also about not throwing out the baby with the bathwater. There are certain things in the past that are beautiful and are still of great value to us. So this is not a complete release of the past. This is not, well, that's the past. That doesn't count anymore. We have to learn from the past. We just can't live in it. Week 4. Yikes. Is 2022 here already? That's what I'm calling week 4. Probably the most dynamic week. Starts with Venus stationing retrograde at 27 degrees of Capricorn. 27 degrees of Capricorn. Pilgrims climbing steep steps leading to a mountain shrine. The ascent of individualized consciousness to the highest realizations reached by its spiritual leaders of its culture. An upreaching. So Venus stationing retrograde is asking us to reach out for the wisdom of the elders, reach out for the wisdom of those who have sought that out, right? Those who have sought it out. This starts a 42-day retrograde cycle of Venus. She will retrograde all the way back to 12 degrees of Capricorn, and she will station direct on January 29th, 2022. The interesting thing numerologically about this combination is, hold on one second, I just want to see if I have my card here. Okay. Oops. Sorry, guys. I want to point something out. I can't point it out if I can't find the card. So both Sunday, December 19th, 2021 and January 29th, 2022 vibrate to a 36/9 vibration. That vibration is a Sagittarius vibration in the numerology Kabbalah that I utilize, and this is the card associated with it, guys. The 10 of Wands, the burden bearer. So the fact that the vibration that starts this retrograde cycle and the vibration that ends this retrograde cycle is about that 36/9 vibration, that 10 of Wands, requires us to look at the burdens that we bear, reorganize them, and let go of the ones that no longer serve us. Sagittarius, those ideas, those points of view that no longer serve us. There's a lot of sacred cows in there that we're going to be letting go of, within the light of the facts. And yet we can't let it all go, because there are truths that still apply. Sunday the 19th, we have a waning sextile to Jupiter, another opportunity for progressive change. The Sun and Jupiter are the two largest bodies in the solar system. So this is opportunistic. This cycle actually began back on January 28th of 2021 at 10 degrees of Aquarius. This is interesting because it is an opportunity for change, and the Sabian symbol for this always intrigues me. It says a man who had for a time become the embodiment of a popular ideal is made to realize that as a person he is not the ideal. The need to deal with human beings as persons rather than as screens upon which one projects one's dreams and ideals. The key word here is self-reevaluation. I can only think of one. I can think of one person who sort of fits this bill, and you can well imagine. So it'll be interesting to see if something comes to light around this particular previous 45th president at this time. And here we have the Sun here in Sagittarius again, that close to that galactic center, and we have Jupiter, where is Jupiter? Jupiter at 28 degrees of 29 degrees. What is it here? 29 degrees of Aquarius, and that's conjunct the United States moon for the Sibley chart. So this is very intimately connected to the United States in that respect. Plus all of this Venus retrograde stuff is happening on the Pluto of the United States. And that's something that I'll talk about in another segment at another time. The connection of the United States Pluto return and this Venus retrograde. Monday, December 20th, we have Mercury making a waning trine to Uranus. This is a 240-degree trine. It has the energy of Sagittarius, so it's about social rewards. There is a flow between the higher mind, Uranus, and the lower mind, Mercury. This is a trine of understanding and social rewards. This cycle began back on the 30th of April at 11 degrees of Aquarius. It says, during a silent hour, a man receives a new inspiration, which may change his life. The need to rely upon inner inspiration and guidance at the start of new developments. The key word here is overshadowing of the individual consciousness by an inner yet transcendent power. And so the fact that the symbol that started this whole energy is about listening to your higher vibrational, that small, still voice within, is doubly indicated by the fact that we have a trine between our lower mind and our higher mind. And so trines bring flow, and this trine brings understanding. So there are things that we have learned about through our lower mind that align up with what we've known previously from our higher mind. And this is an opportunity to really come to an understanding and really open up to spirit. We are going to need more than just what we see in front of ourselves this month. We're going to need to be able to open up to that higher spirit, those higher spiritual truths that are within us, if we take the time to meditate. Remember that this vibration for December, the 17.8 vibration, is a vibration of meditation, is a vibration of meditation. Okay, let's continue. On December 21st, we have the sun's ingress into Capricorn. This is the first day of winter in the Northern Hemisphere, and congratulations, the first day of summer in the Southern Hemisphere. Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn, is at that 11th degree of Aquarius. And so we are dealing with, again, this energy of receiving new inspirations that could change our life. Okay. All right. On Friday, December 24th, we have the last of 3 Saturn Uranus last quarter squares. Remember, last quarter squares are crisis in consciousness squares, breaking free from the known, right? Part of the synodic cycle. This is part of a synodic cycle that actually began in 1988, when these two planets conjoined 3 times in the last 3 degrees of Sagittarius. The 28th, the 29th, and the 30th degree of Sagittarius. And of course, Sagittarius deals with what we believe to be true, right? What we believe to be true. It's also connected to the galactic center. So at that time in 1988, the galactic energy was seated. And what we've come at this point is we're in that 3/4 around the wheel space, where we are starting to question authority, and we are starting to move in that more sort of self-directed, individuated, and yet group-oriented direction. And that is about, being our brothers and sisters keepers. Okay. We can turn our back to a certain extent on authority, but we need to stay responsible within ourselves and realize that we are responsible for each other. And that's part of the shift that I think we're going to be making in the next couple of years, is realizing that perhaps those in power don't have all the answers. And if we want to move forward, we're going to have to work it out together. We're going to have to work it out together. The first of these last quarter squares occurred on February 17th at 8 degrees of Aquarius Taurus. The second one occurred on June 14th at 14 degrees of Aquarius and Taurus. Of course, that was the ex-president's birthday. And the third will occur on the 24th at 12 degrees of Aquarius Taurus. Saturday, December 25th, we have the second Venus-Pluto conjunction at 26 degrees of Capricorn. Again, we're dealing with the nature spirit dancing and the occult energy. It's the same degree as the initial conjunction. Saturn, the ruler of Capricorn, is at 12 degrees of Aquarius. Remember when I talked about the first conjunction? That was when Venus was direct. Now Venus is retrograde. Saturn remains at that 12 degrees. And it says here, on a vast staircase, people of different types graduated upward. The necessity of recognizing differences of types and levels of development wherever human beings live and work together. The natural progression of states of consciousness is an unavoidable reality to accept at the social mental level. And what this speaks of is that everybody is at their own level, and you cannot judge another person's level if you are not at that level. So everybody's working, we're all rising up the stairway, but some people are ahead of other people. So to expect everybody to be at your level is unreasonable. But to diss people for not being at your level is just as unreasonable. And so we need to work where we're at, and we need to come to an understanding where we're at. And that's what this 12 degrees of Aquarius reminds us of, as Venus, the planet of relationship, moves through this retrograde period. And also it has to do with understanding that our relationship to power. And then week 5, I have a hint of softening, and it's not all soft, but there's a couple of softy things that happen that will ease some of the tension, but there's a lot of tension. So I don't want to necessarily blow sunshine up your butt here. So on Sunday, December 26th, we have Mercury making a waning sextile to Neptune. Again, an opportunity for progressive change. How many times have I said that? And this is where we connect to source energy. This is part of a synodic cycle that began back on the 29th of March at 22 degrees of Pisces. It says, a prophet carrying tablets of a new law is walking down the slopes of Mount Sinai. The need to bring down on the level of everyday existence the clear realizations made manifest in a great peak experience. And so for those of us who seek the spiritual, those of us who seek the higher vibrational stuff, those of us who seek an understanding of things through the lens of spirit, or through the lens of our own connection to source or our higher vibrational states, need to bring that information in a way that it's going to be understandable to people, and not feel like, oh, I'm so much more evolved than you because you just don't see it. We need to have compassion and love for all of us. And so, maybe remove the snarkiness and open your heart to compassion for others. And I think if we practice compassion and healthy boundaries along with it, I think we can go a long way to changing things. The 28th of December, we have Jupiter ingressing into Pisces. Jupiter back into Pisces. Jupiter is actually the ruler of Pisces, along with Neptune, which is also in Pisces. So this is sort of a double Pisces energy. And the energy of Pisces is expansion into infinity. And we have the two most expansive energies, Neptune and Jupiter, in the sign that's most expansive. This really dissolves boundaries between us, and we realize that we're sort of all in the same lake, or all in the same ocean of consciousness. This can also be indicated in a realization that this, I think, is a realization of how we must take into consideration that, we're all breathing the same air, we're all drinking the same water, and we have to start taking better care of each other and the planet that we live on. I think there's going to be a real realization in 2022 as these two planets move through Pisces. It was actually in Pisces. This is not the first time Jupiter's been in Pisces. Recently, it was in Pisces from May 13th to July 28th, and then it moved back into Aquarius. Now it will be in Pisces till May 10th, 2022. So we have about 6 months more of Jupiter in Pisces. And this can bring understanding and healing. The expansive principle in the most expansive of signs. Tuesday, the 28th, we have a Mars in conjunct to Uranus. Mars in conjunction are about missing the mark. Mars is action. Uranus is sudden actions. This can indicate a sudden urge to take an action to free yourself from constraints. Impulsive connection that can cause you to overshoot. So you need to be very careful here. Rebellious action can lead to unintended consequences. So mind yourself on this day. Okay. Wednesday, the 29th, The next day, we have Mars making a waning sextile to Saturn, an opportunity to take action to create structures that will support humanitarian and progressive causes. Both the aspects on Tuesday, Mars-Uranus in conjunct, and the Saturn-Uranus sextile reactivates that Saturn-Uranus square. So caution is advised at this time. So we do have a softening of energy, but we still have that Uranian Saturn thing going on, and with Mars activating it constructively with Saturn, but not so constructively with Uranus. We just need to be very aware and very careful. We also have Venus making a conjunction to Mercury at 25 degrees of Capricorn on Wednesday, the 29th. Venus and Mercury do make these conjunctions every now and again. Venus at this time is retrograde. We have to consider that. So we have a store filled with precious Oriental rugs, the use of cultural and artistic processes as a means to enhance personal comfort and appreciation, a reliance on tradition. So this is an evaluation of tradition, an evaluation of that it's okay to be comfortable, but perhaps not too comfortable. And on Thursday, December 30th, we have Mercury make a conjunction to Pluto. This starts their synodic cycle. That's about a year long. It occurs at 28 degrees of Capricorn, and we're dealing with an occult energy again. And so the soul is expressing itself through the lower mind, and we're dealing with these occult hidden energies that is a deep connection to the earth and a deep connection to Mother Nature. And that's really the last aspect that occurs major aspect that occurs in 2021. And so I think what we're asking ourselves at this time is, what is our relationship to the planet? What is our relationship to each other? How are we going to navigate the future? Unless we come to an understanding that we're in this together, guys. We're in this together. So lots of big changes in December. I hope you found this helpful. Like and subscribe. If you would like a reading with me, you can still get my 2021 prices. If you go to my website, thesiegeoftransformation.com, go to the services page, and I do 2 different readings. I have an hour reading, which is $120, and I have a 90-minute reading, which is $150. Those prices will go up some at the beginning of the year. So if you would like to have a reading, you can have it next year. You have to book it before the end of this year to get those prices. So as always, it's been a great pleasure to spend time with you. Much love to you all. Namaste, and hopefully you find this information useful. Take care, everyone. Happy holidays.